Advaitam Savadhutam Parijanasahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so we are reading from Gita Nagari, Conception of Gita Nagari, Part 2, and the paragraph beginning with, in order to treat the heart diseases of the Asuras. Okay. In order to treat the heart diseases of the Asuras, transcendental hospitals have to be opened at Gita Nagari, apart from the ordinary hospitals that are run everywhere. These hospitals shall treat the Asuric patients with respect to their education, initiation, knowledge, and transcendental science, eating, enjoying, and treatment of diseases all together. That will be the special function of Gita Nagari. If work is begun with the aim of serving the internal potency of Godhead, there will not be any check in the progressive work of the external potency of Godhead, but such work will have a change in the internal potency of Godhead. The function of iron stops when it is hot in association with fire, and at that time the iron works as fire, with all its potency in the same way. When work is begun in the realm of the internal potency of Godhead, the external potency stops functioning. We have already discussed the different potencies of Godhead, namely internal and external. Prakritev kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma karta hamiti manyate. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. It is therefore concluded that the energy of Godhead works differently in response to our service or revolt to the plan of Godhead. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavamajanando mamavyamanuttama naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavritah Mudhoyam nabhijanati loko mamajamavyayam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them, I am covered by my internal potency. Therefore, they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So here, Prabhupada is saying that these hospitals should treat the Asuric patients with respect to their education, initiation, knowledge, transcendental science, eating, enjoying, and treatment of diseases all together. That will be the special function of Gita Nagari. Prabhupada compares Gita Nagari, the hospital of the transcendental hospitals at Gita Nagari, to not just treat diseases, but also there will be education, knowledge, transcendental science, eating, enjoying. And Prabhupada makes the point that the internal potency works differently. Prabhupada says, therefore, it concludes the energy of God works differently in response to our service or revolt to the plan of Godhead. Meaning that when we align ourselves with Krishna's desire, then the internal potency facilitates our lives and takes care of our lives and gives us all nourishment, to the extent that Prabhupada gives the point that the influence of the external energy is basically stopped. The function of iron stops when it's hot in the association of fire. So just like iron changes into fire in the association of fire, similarly the external potency doesn't function as the external potency when it comes in contact with the internal potency. And so the whole point is that Gita Nagari will display how all matter can be used in the service of Krishna. That's pretty much the point. Right? And then although there'll be so many activities, there's education, there's initiation, there's enjoyment, none of it is binding. None of it is conditioning. That's the point. Okay. You're lost. The particular type of persons.
The particular type of persons who are able to take charge of the propaganda work of the Gita Nagari are also mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. It is said about those who...
32?
22.
It is said about those who have worked for the sake of Godhead as yogins. Yeah? Yogins?
Hmm.
In previous births that they can be searched out in the families of Suchis and Srimatis. It is said there as follows.
Prapya punya kritamam lokan ushitva shashvati samaha suchinam shrimatam gehe yoga prashto bhijayate.
You should probably have the mic for a person who's reading, right?
He has it, right?
There's two mics?
Well, our
Anyways, I was waiting on it before.
tech team is...
It's not that. I'm about to do it like let's it. Anyways, I'm not that.
She heard.
Yeah.
I got it. I need it for everything.
The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. Bhagavad Gita 6:41. Those who are born in the family of pure devotees or faithful brahmanas, or in the family of rich merchants, having devotional activities in the family due to their virtuous work in the past life, can take interest in the activities of the Gita Nagari as they are accustomed to do from their previous birth. It is therefore necessary that such virtuous persons, only who have taken their births in the families of Suchis and Srimatis, must be assembled together in order to give effect to the program.
So here you can see how Srila Prabhupada, his original idea, even when he came to the United States, was that he wanted to preach. Why is that recording? I don't see, we don't need to record it.
Does it?
So Prabhupada was always trying to preach to the elite, to the class. And Prabhupada, even when he came to the US, he was hoping to do that, but Krishna sent him the hippies, and Prabhupada gladly accepted them and worked with it. But even right here, you see Prabhupada, you see these Suchis and Srimatis. I don't think Prabhupada's ever used that later after that, in that case, Suchis and Srimatis. And, it's a nice way of saying it. But,
What does it mean?
huh?
What does it mean?
Suchi now means those who are born in families of brahmanas, Suchis. And then you have Srimatis, those who are born in wealthy families, aristocratic families.
Oh, okay.
So Prabhupada is saying Suchis and Srimatis. Yeah, I find it funny. But, so Prabhupada, he's saying that, anyways, he's saying they can take interest. And then Prabhupada is giving a whole plan after this. And go on.
In order to give effect to the program of the Gita Nagari, it is necessary that at least 12 gentlemen picked from the families of such Suchis and Srimatis should form an association. And with the help of these gentlemen, arrangement has to be made to provide the fund of Gita Nagari with an income of, is that rupees?
Yeah.
Rupees 10,000 per month for the expense of the Gita Nagari. By the grace of God, those who are born in the family of Srimatas are sufficiently favored by Lakshmi Devi. As such, the Srimatas can make use of their wealth in the service of the internal potency of Godhead, instead of wasting the same for the service of the external potency of Godhead. If wealth, which is considered to be the servitor of Narayan, is not engaged in his service, surely the same wealth will bring havoc and calamities upon the world. And for this, The possessors of the wealth will surely be responsible, and the reaction is already in vogue in the shape of many contending political isms of the day. The crisis that we are now confronted with are the outcome of the wealth of the world that has been engaged in the service of the external potency of Godhead. The Gita Nagari, therefore, will be able to set a noble example for the benefit of the world, as it will show how wealth can be engaged in the service of the internal potency of Godhead and thereby bring peace and prosperity to the world.
So here Prabhupada is saying that there'll be like basically a little like a board of 12 gentlemen, he's not saying gentlewomen, picked from the families of Suchis and Srimatis, and they would form an association, and then those gentlemen would make an arrangement to provide Gita Nagari 10,000 rupees per month. 10,000 rupees back in the day is a lot of money. I mean, I don't know if somebody wants to do a quick chat GPT, but basically, one can ask. This was published in the 1950s, so you can say 1955. What is the value in U.S. dollars today of what is the value of 10,000 rupees in 1955? What does it translate into U.S. dollars of today? You know, that's basically the question. What is the value of a 1955 10,000 rupees? Yeah, something like this. Prabhupada is saying that the Srimatas are sufficiently favored by Lakshmi Devi, they can easily do it. So from this you can understand two things. One is that a farm community, even from the inception, Srila Prabhupada's time, it does require funds. It's difficult to think that the farm community is going to run itself without donations. It requires donations. Because the farm community only becomes an actual self-sustaining economic model only when it reaches a level of critical mass to the extent of more or less being a mini little nation of its own. With literally at least I don't know, Adi Karta Prabhu says 1,000 people have to live there if you actually want to be able to be self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. Why? You want to have a blacksmith. The blacksmith has to have enough people to sell his goods to. And there has to be enough people to use those goods and then let it go spoil so that you're buying more. And you won't have that if you just have a group of 100 people. How many pots are you going to buy? Even 100, So if somebody's making shoes, you find it?
How much is 1,000,000 rupees?
Huh?
1,000,000 rupees is a crore?
No,
Or
million is 10 lakh.
10 lakh rupees is somewhat of a estimate.
10,000 rupees back then is now 1,000,000 rupees?
Yeah.
That's 10 lakh per month. That's a lot.
My math is probably off.
I got 10,000 USD.
10,000 rupees in 1950 is now 10,000 USD.
Yeah.
A month?
A month?
That's
Actually,
what
250
ChatGPT
rupees
said.
Prabhupada's father used to work out his family. If you read in Prabhupada Leelamrita is given. So that
Oh,
was
that's
scheduled.
right.
So during 1955 it must be around 400 or 500, maybe twice.
Yeah, twice as much,
So
yeah.
if you divide by 10,000, we don't.
10,000 is a lot, huh?
That's how. I mean, that's what
That-
ChatGPT is saying.
ChatGPT is saying that.
I just have some inflation tool website. But
Yeah. Anyways, the point is, even if it's I'll do both numbers, right? So if it's going to be 1,000,000 rupees, that is actually more. That's $11,461 right now
A month?
per month. Now,
Isn't that just per person?
no.
the project.
No, but you have to understand that things were so cheap back then.
Yeah.
And that is a lot of money. But you have to Prabhupada has this huge plan, it's like a world thing, and that's a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money today to get people to donate that per month. You know, if you want to find monthly donors to donate $11,000 per month,
Oh,
it takes effort.
This is per trustee.
This is per month for the expenses of the whole
okay.
thing, of the whole Gita Nagari.
Mm.
So it's not and today $11,000 is not a lot of money, but still it's an effort to get it. Back then, that's a lot. And Prabhupada is saying, even though Srimatas are sufficiently favored by Lakshmi, the truth is, there is so much money in the world even today. I mean, like, it's ridiculous how much the government spends, how much people spend, how much money people have. There's so much money everywhere. I mean, but people don't want to give it to Krishna. They will spend it in every single way except give it to Krishna. They have so much money. And you look at some of these political donors and donations to like political campaigns, it's like mind blowing.
The Islamic fund that keeps on sending checks here for you.
Yeah, well, that Islamic fund. There's one rich guy who keeps sending $2,000 per month,
Wow.
He's forgotten.
and he's been sending it for the last 4 years after we purchased this temple. It's so tempting to cash the check. You know, but basically that would be illegal. But the thing is that, you know, he said every single month. Now, how rich must he be to send money every single month and not even realize that the money is not being taken out of his bank account?
Yeah.
And this guy is like, you know, is like a nobody. You know, who knows who he is? He lives somewhere in whatever, Iowa or Montana or something like this. You know. So, but he's nothing, and even he's doing. If you look at some of these political donors, and one of the political candidates, they just say coolly in the thing that they don't know where $200 million went. $200 million? It's like, but you see, people. It's like it's difficult to like fathom how much money is out there, but majority of people don't see it. But rich people, it's like nothing. They spend so much money, and they have so much money. And it's true even in India. I mean, like, what's this guy? He recently got married. One of the Ambanis got married. Mukesh?
Anand.
Huh?
His son Anand.
Anant Ambani. Right. Mukesh Ambani's son. Anant Ambani got married. And the bill for that marriage is some crazy figure. So many hundreds of crores of rupees.
Yeah, chartered flights and.
Yeah, chartered flights for all the guests, and you know.
It's like a royal family.
And it's basically one of the richest business families in India.
It was
So-
all Bollywood, Hollywood.
Yeah, there's so many things. Anyways, but for them this is nothing. But the main point to understand is that Prabhupada is saying that, you know, it's interesting that Gita Nagari requires funds. And Prabhupada is making the point, this is nothing. What I'm asking is nothing. This will not even dent any of the expenditures that people want to spend in this world. Even if we asked people for money. It's like whatever we are going to consume or whatever we are able to spend, whatever we think will be required, it does nothing to the expenditures of the demons, but they still won't give it. They still won't give it. It's like somebody who have $1,000, you give $1 away. It's like whether it was 1,000 or whether it was 999, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But they won't part with it. Yeah, because they're demons. Anyways, yeah, go on.
Should I continue or next person?
Thanks.
Start up. Take that last player.
This is nice, huh? See, Prabhupada has a whole structure. I should think about it when we do our farm. Yeah.
What is it? The crisis?
Such 12 people.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's.
Such 12 gentlemen, when they have assembled in an organized form, shall chalk out the program of the Gita Nagari, and to guide the principles of such activities, Bhagavad Gita will be the book of knowledge or medium of information. It is incumbent that such governing bodies of the Gita Nagari must have the following preliminary qualifications, namely, 1. They must not have illegitimate connection with women. 2. They must be completely vegetarian. 3. They must remain from all sorts of intoxicating habits. 4. They must refrain from all sorts of gambling or they must refrain from all sorts of gambling or speculative habits. Unless and until the governing gentlemen are free from the above four primary principles, it will not be possible for them to go farther and farther above. When one has acquired the above preliminary qualifications and also engaged in the service of Godhead, at that time only one is promoted to the stage of a Mahatma. And to conduct the activities of the Gita Nagari, the services of the Mahatmas are requisitioned. Such activities are not meant for ordinary men having no control over the senses, nor having any sort of relations with the transcendental service of Godhead. Those who are pure in action can conduct such activities. One Mahatma can do immense good to others just like one moon can illuminate the firmament, though innumerable stars cannot do anything. Yad charati shrestas tadeva jagutana sayat pramanam kurte lokastadanuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues.
So it's simple. They have to be devotees. They should follow the four regulative principles, and they should be engaged in Krishna consciousness. Those 12 people. And then Prabhupada says governing bodies, meaning that there's more than one governing body to run so many different things in Gita Nagari, and all of them should be devotees.
We saw it Hungary. How many departments did they have? Like 40 or something? 50 departments? In Shiva Rama?
They had, I forgot. It was some big number.
Yeah.
Number of
We have
departments.
book distribution and Harinam?
We have temple commander.
We have one, we have one main program, which is book distribution.
You have book distribution, you have something going on in the garden, and then you have the temple commander. That's kind of it.
Kitchen.
Oh, you forgot Athens.
There you go.
So, yeah.
The proprietor and deity of the Gita Nagari will be Sri Krishna himself. The temple of Sri Krishna, which shall be situated in the center of the Gita Nagari, shall contain the Vigraha of Sri Krishna, placed on the chariot of Sri Arjuna, seated along with Sri Krishna. The Vigraha shall be known as Parthasarthi. The Sri Murti of Sri Parthasarthi shall proclaim throughout the world as to how much the personality of Godhead can be merciful to his devotees. That Godhead can be made the driver of the chariot of his devotee. That Godhead can be made the driver of the chariot of his devotee is one of the many examples of how the Supreme God can meet his devotee in the simplest way, as between friend and friend. O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies. Bhagavad Gita 1:21. The powerful Godhead, with his eternal energy as Arjuna, shall be worshipped in the Gita Nagari according to the rites of scriptures. The inhabitants of the Gita Nagari shall dwell in that transcendental city as the denizens of the kingdom of God and as associates of the personality of Godhead. They shall become the actual Harijan, as is described in the scriptures. The only proprietor of Gita Nagari shall be the personality of Godhead, and all the inhabitants there shall live there as his servitors. Samoham sarvam
Bhuteshu name dveshosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya maiteshu chapyaham.
I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all. But whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him.
So, this form, it's not there anywhere actually. Prabhupada's even talking of the whole deity, what deity will be there in Gita Nagari.
Yeah.
And he's saying that Krishna, deity of Krishna, will be seated on a chariot along with Arjuna, in Arjuna's chariot. And that will be the temple, that's the deity. Prabhupada never installed such a deity actually. You know, so that's an interesting one. But that's what Prabhupada is saying there. He said, oh, this will be the form of the Lord in the temple.
Even the actual Gita Nagari project is it Radha?
Well, yeah, it's Radha Damodar deities, but actually the original farm. I don't know what deities they had. Maybe they had Gornitai. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so. The Radha Damodar came later.
Radha Damodar came way later, actually.
In like 70,
I think the
80s. They moved around and then finally they came there.
It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that Sri Krishna behaves equally with persons according to their reciprocal behavior. Those who will be too much attached to Godhead, the personality of Godhead will be equally attached to him. Ordinarily, the living entities are guided by the modes of nature, but even so, nobody is dear, nor is anyone the object of derision for Godhead. The personality of Godhead is known as the devotee of his devotee, and as such, only his devotees can purchase him, and nobody else. Great personalities like Maharaj Ambarish and others who have shown the perfect way of worshipping the personality of Godhead. But in the recent times, Sri Sanatana Goswami, who was one of the confidential associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and was also the Prime Minister of Nawab Hussain Shah of Bengal, showed us the way how one can serve Godhead. He used to spend 1/2 of his income for God's sake. That is a vivid example for the governors of the Gita Nagari. Sri Goswami spent only 1/4 of his income for his relations, and the balance 1/4 was set aside for his personal use. Exemplary householders can take lessons from the behavior of Sri Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis for their future guidance. Everything that exists is the property of Godhead. The living entities, as sons of the Godhead, inherit the property, not as owners, but as gifts from the Father to the sons, and as such they must engage the interest of such properties in the service of Godhead as the primary beneficiary. If they are not prepared to do so, they must be ready for all sorts of troubles offered by the external potency of Godhead. The process of civilization, as designed by the gross materialist, is to enjoy the property of Godhead represented by the external energy of Godhead to the utmost capacity until the day of annihilation. They think that the property of Godhead represented by its external potency is a thing enjoyable by them, their sons and grandsons, their countrymen, their kinsmen, etc., which the external potency of Godhead rejects summarily, and therefore the foolish materialists, when they are baffled in their attempt to enjoy Mother Nature, the external potency of Godhead, say nature is unkind. The materialist does not know that in the transcendental service of Godhead, all the services towards others, as above mentioned, are accommodated. The Gita Nagari shall be the ideal place to set this example to the people of the world. Shall I continue?
Yeah, I mean, we'll probably continue.
It is a sort of disease of the asuras that they have learned to accumulate wealth unlawfully. The conditioned souls under the influence of the external potency of Godhead are always bewildered in their intelligence, like insane persons are always bewildered in ordinary dealings. As such, the governing body of the Gita Nagari has to make some intelligent plan so that the asuras may be engaged in the service of Sri Parthasarathi with all their accumulated unlawful wealth. If they are at all able to make such a plan, surely they will be able to render more valuable service to the people of the world than any number of political parties or organizations are able to do. Godhead is perfect in all respects, and He is the proprietor of everything, as everything is produced originally by His energy only, external or internal. As such, everything that exists is properly served at the time of transcendental service of Godhead, as the branches and the leaves of a tree are watered when the water is poured down upon the root of the tree, or the different limbs of the body of a living being are served when foodstuff is given to the stomach. The plan of God is made like that, and intelligent persons can understand this simple plan of Godhead everywhere, as by watering one leaf or one branch of tree, the other leaves or branches of the tree are not served, or by supplying foodstuff to one limb of the body, the other limbs of body are not served. Similarly, by serving one section of God's potency, the other sections are not served. Therefore, full service means the service of the original cause of everything, namely the personality of Godhead.
Here, also, again, Srila Prabhupada is making the point that the Gita Nagari, the governing body of Gita Nagari, has to make some intelligent plans so the asuras may be engaged in the service of Sri Parthasarathi with all their accumulated unlawful wealth. So, fund collection, donation is very much part of the farm community, and actually it's important because people have a lot of wealth, and there's still a lot of wealth, and this wealth needs to get put into starting a community that is visionary, that is meant to solve all the problems of the world. And definitely funds will be required for this, for the establishment of this. And many times devotees, sometimes the criticism is there, is like, what is this? We're grahastas, and the grahastas on the farm, they're also grahastas. Why can't they make their own? Why can't they get their own money? This and that. It's completely different. There's a pioneering mission here. And to be honest, those grahastas who live on the farm, they're not different from brahmacharis. They're engaged in the same pioneering effort. It's a very, very it's a program that requires a great level of surrender. And to set up an ideal society like this, even in the days of yore, to use that English word, the kings would lavishly, donate and allow for such activities to happen. It was always there. The kings would, and then the Vaishyas would also sponsor that. You see that even in the life of the Goswamis, all their temples were built by, not all of them, but many of them were built by wealthy merchants. Some were built by kings, but I think the Radha Govinda temple was built by a king.
Yeah.
But the Radha Madan Mohan temple, Sanatana Goswami's temple, was built by a rich merchant in Mathura. And so this is a common thing, even when the three saints, the Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Acharya and Shyamananda, when they left Vrindavan carrying all the manuscripts of the Goswamis to Bengal for preaching, the cart and it was donated. Jiva Goswami contacts some rich person in Mathura, and he sponsors the cart, along with paying for the guards to travel. 12 guards, I think, travel. 10 or 12 guards travel. So this is there. And therefore, devotees should also understand that this is a very, very important aspect. As we can see, Prabhupada is such a grandiose plan. And Prabhupada is actually putting up, I don't think you can find this anywhere else. Prabhupada is putting up a dollar amount to monthly donations, saying, how the wealth needs, that's a lot of money. Anyways, it's, yeah. So, okay. After the construction of the temple of Sri Parthasarathi at Gita Nagari, the next program of work in the Gita Nagari will be to start one academic educational institution under the name of Gita School or Gita Pathshala. This educational institution shall be conducted as a brahmacharya ashram of the Gurukul system. In this institution, children not exceeding 7 years of age shall be admitted, and they shall be educated up to the age of 20 years, equipping them with sound body and sound mind, so that they may be ideal householders in the latter part of their life, which will bring real peace and prosperity to the human society. The language for the medium of instruction in this educational center will be Sanskrit and English preferably, unless the governors of Gita Nagari think otherwise. The children of the inhabitants of Gita Nagari shall get free education with the facility of free boarding and free lodging in this institution. By a test of practical psychology and by examination of the birth horoscope of the child, with special reference to his birthright, sect, and class arrangement, a student from the very beginning shall be given the education of a Brahmana, of a Kshatriya, of a Vaishya, or of a Shudra, as may be the case according to his quality and destined work. It is, however, possible to make a change of this general rule under special cases. The educational institution as Gita Nagari will, as a matter of fact, try to create a greater number of students having the necessary qualification of a Brahmana by developing such culture in him. Because in this age of Kali Yuga, there is a big scarcity of the Brahmana class. Mahatma Gandhi, in recent time, although born in a Vaishya family, developed the qualities of Brahmana by culturing non-violence, equality, restraint, toleration, forgiveness, charity, etc. Therefore, the Gita Nagari, by its cultural propaganda and otherwise, can create any number of Brahmanas provided the candidates are available. The Gita Nagari, however, will not encourage the system of the renounced order of life, sannyas, as in this age it is not possible to maintain such order of life under difficult circumstances. So much to unpack here. Krishna. And so, Prabhupada first makes the point, says that this is going to be a Gurukul system. And Prabhupada says children not exceeding 7 years of age shall be admitted. Meaning that the school will only take children 7 or younger, not older. And will train them up to the age of 20, and they'll be ideal householders and things like that, to become ideal householders. Prabhupada also says, by test of practical psychology and by examination of the birth horoscope, with special reference to his birthright, sect and class arrangement. This class is class. Not a classroom class, but the class. So that refers to who his parents are, what they're, because actually when you do the caste system, there's many subcategories. Just like this morning Prabhu was saying, Sanodaya Brahmanas, they're low class. They're practically, because they're materialistic, like this. And so you have like a so they're Brahmanas, but it's subcategory and considered low class. So like that, Prabhupada is saying that they would check the horoscope of the child, and then by test of practical psychology also. How exactly the psychology is executed is actually found in the Vedas, but more research, maybe our God siblings know who are doing the Gurukul, education system in India. They might have more understanding of these things. But a glimpse of this is found in the story in the Upanishads between Satyakama Jabala and Rishi Gautama. That Satyakama, the son of Jabala, wants to, sees Gautama Rishi, educating his students in his Gurukul. And then he goes up to his mother and says, I also want to be educated. And he goes up to actually Gautama, and Gautama asks, what is your Gotra? And then he goes back to his mother. He says, Mother, what is our Gotra? And his mom says, well, Gotra basically refers to the seminal line that comes from which Rishi. So there's different Gotras. But it's a seminal line. It refers to your ancestry, basically. And different ancestries lead to different types of castes. Because ultimately, this is all there in the Bhagavatam, that the sages and the Manus, their progeny is what populated the entire world. So the Gotra is transferred through the father, not the mother. So one has to find out who one's father is and the lineage in order to know what one's Gotra is. But Jabala, mother of Satyakama, doesn't know who the father is, which was she was a prostitute. She didn't know. She had sex with so many people. She don't know who actually, successfully impregnated her. So Satyakama was born. And so she says, I don't know. All I know is that you are Satyakama and you're son of me, Jabala. So you go tell that your Gotra is Satyakama Jabala. So this is what the boy does. He just goes and he says, I know my mom said my Gotra is Satyakama Jabala because she doesn't know who is my father. The boy is old enough to, he's not like, he's not that like, he's about 5-6 years old like this. So Gautama Rishi, seeing that, says that nobody could have spoken the truth like you did, and therefore you must be a Brahmana. And what he does is actually found in that Gomata book. Remember reading that story? What he actually makes him do is, even though he exhibited the qualities of being a Brahmana, still in order to purify him, or this is standard brahmachari training according to that book, is they have to eat, first brahmacharis are trained how to serve tulasi and serve cows. So Gautama sends Satyakama into the forest with a herd of 500 cows and says, don't return until they become 1,000 cows. And he sends them in, and Satyakama, by serving the cows and this and that, the herd increases to 1,000. And then he decides to return, but in the meanwhile he's instructed by demigods. And then, but the demigods give him the final instruction that ultimately the highest perfection of life is to surrender to a spiritual master and learn from him the absolute truth. So then he comes back to Gautama and he says this. But what we can understand in this is that Gautama Rishi, by seeing the psychology of Satyakama Jabala, was able to identify that he is a Brahmana. So there is a science in how to do this. So the birth is there, and then there is the psychology also. And both are taken into consideration in determining which Varna the boy is born in. And still you see that Gautama actually wanted him to get purified and had him serve cows. So there's a whole psychology, and this science has to get revived. If that's done, then students can be given education in all these different varnas. And Prabhupada says that Gita Nagari will, as a matter of fact, try to create a greater number of students having the necessary qualification of a Brahmana, because Brahmanas will ultimately guide society. More on this purport maybe in next class, because it's already 7:13. Yeah, any questions, comments, and things like that? Yeah.
Like, I guess so with somebody giving this education for Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, I mean, how do you also qualify the teachers who are giving that education?
The teachers are always Brahmanas.
Okay.
Teachers are always Brahmanas. Dronacharya was a Brahmana, but he taught military science to the Pandavas and to the Kauravas. So the Brahmanas know all the sciences, but they don't exploit it. They just teach. That means they're renounced. So yeah. Okay. Anything else? Yes.
Remember when Dayananda Prabhu and Rupa Vilas Prabhu were here? There was that big discussion around Grihasthas giving 50%.
Yeah.
And how Prabhupada spoke so heavily, or pushed it so strongly.
He did it himself. Dayananda Prabhu did it himself. He was saying, Prabhupada asked. Yeah.
Wow.
If you could comment on, because Prabhupada mentioned that there, that the...
Yeah, Dayananda Prabhu was making a point that during Prabhupada's time, it was almost practically, it was like Prabhupada expected initiated devotees to do that. When he was in Tehran, Dayananda Prabhu says that Prabhupada specifically asked him, because he was working back then, and then he'd moved to Tehran, and Prabhupada said, are you still giving 50%? And he said, yes. And Prabhupada said, good. So Dayananda Prabhu makes that point that he's really gung-ho about devotees understanding that this is really what the standard is. He says, yes, you can do this because of this and because of that, but Dayananda Prabhu was making the point that devotees should learn to tone down their material needs and give that 50%, and that is what Prabhupada was expecting. And that's what Prabhupada taught him and taught several other disciples back in the day. He can. We are actually thinking, just today we had a discussion, and maybe we invite Dayananda Prabhu for the Shravan Kirtan camp. Basically, it was just a thought, we'll see. If he's willing to come on this, he's 80 plus. He's almost 80, or he's 80. 79, 80, something like that. 79, I think, 78, 79. So it's kind of hard to get him out here. He said he kind of had to force himself to travel and kind of like come out, but he doesn't like doing it. We were really begging him.
They were just living out of their car and traveling all over the East Coast.
I know at this age, and them driving, and mostly it was Dayananda Prabhu who was driving.
Cold.
It was all Dayananda driving, because Dayananda Prabhu driving, because Rupa Vilas Prabhu lives in UK and doesn't have a license or something. I don't understand how that works. But yeah, so we would try to invite him, and then maybe we can have him speak specifically on this topic. He might have a lot more insight on this, because he was relating memories that I've never heard of before in this regard. At least, yeah, that much insistent on 50% I never heard.
When majority of ISKCONs, they never taught this before.
No, that's what Dayananda Prabhu was so upset. He said, nobody teaches, nobody insists. It must be. This is the standard. But you tell everybody gets upset. You become really like some. People think that you can ruin your relationships with so many devotees if you say this.
How does that apply to the principles of Gita Nagari though? Because if you have like devotees that are taking care of a cow or like taking care of growing grains.
I think this is just referring to people who are donating. It's not. It is donating to Gita Nagari, but not the inhabitants of Gita Nagari themselves. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah. And also Prabhupada is also referring to he talks about Mahatmas, and then the persons living like that, and then he says great personalities like this have shown the perfect way. And so this also refers to those devotees, the Srimatas, who would be part of the governing body of Gita Nagari and all this, that they would also do the same thing. They're wealthy, they have a lot of money, they come from wealthy backgrounds, they give 50%. They do it by their own personal example. But it's to encourage people otherwise also. Yes.
Just a comment. You're talking about Gotra, and I remembered something, and it's a little off topic, but it's interesting how cows also have Gotra. And
yeah, I heard of that. I don't really know what that means though. You have some idea what it is?
well, the cow's lineage should be the cows should be bred with intention. That's basically it. Traits within 6 generations can even manifest. And so it's commonly now there's no like good breeding practices, but good breeding practices are absolutely necessary to have ideal cows.
Yeah.
I think it says in the Bhagavatam that the cow is the daughter of the sun god.
Oh really?
Or
Could be. Okay, anything else? Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
you guys
Oh,
have
no,
a list or
we do.
something? Or?
What should happen when people or devotees are not cooperating together?
Hmm?
That's the Ishtagoshti, right?
What, when devotees don't cooperate with each other? Ishtagoshtis help for sure. They do that in underground, in places. If devotees don't cooperate with each other, it's a problem. And the symptoms of Kali Yuga comes. It's what should be done. I mean, ultimately, a lot of this quarrel and hypocrisy stops when devotees, to at least they follow the principles and they come in the morning for Mangal Arati and they're connected to the spiritual program. Still, these things will crop up, but I mean, they just have to connect to the devotional process. There's no other solution to envy. What's the solution to envy? The solution to envy is to become devotee. How else?
Yeah, Prabhupada says in one purport that to overcome your envy, you serve the people who you're envious of.
Yeah.
And
They have, yeah.
what's his name? Vijay Prabhu says that in connection to book distribution, how we're actually serving the people we distribute books to,
Mm.
and we actually we have this envy towards everyone, we're jealous of all these materialistic things.
Well,
see.
everything.
Yeah.
The living entity being jealous. Ultimately, all this devotees not cooperating with each other is actually a sign of enviousness of Krishna, because the living entity's enviousness of Krishna actually spreads out to his parts and parcels, which are all the different living entities.
Mm.
And so, just like we may like one aspect of Krishna, but not like another aspect of Krishna. Similarly, we like one set of people, but we don't like another set of people. And so, Maharaj explains that in his recent class in Salem. What's the title? It's on YouTube right now. Maharaj speaking about the Dhenukasura pastime, and then he's speaking about this. It's on YouTube. It was released this morning. Huh?
Devotional service is easy?
No. Something about false pride.
I was explaining about the Dhenukasura.
Yeah, so Maharaj makes that point there, that this enviousness of all the other creatures is actually enviousness of Krishna. Now there are some practical ways in which things are dealt with on a farm, like we've seen in Hungary. There's generally sometimes some kind of neutral parties that investigate and try to mediate between, the affected, people, and so there are many practical ways in which things can be dealt with, and that can vary from place to place, but ultimately, and this happens because they're very active in this, and that for instance, Hungary has a team or board of people who are not part of the management, but who have the management's ear, and who have to be taken seriously and things like that, and they don't have managerial roles, but they're considered neutral, and people approach them, and so even in modern society today, you have all this what they call as watchdogs.
Internal affairs? Is that what it's called?
Huh?
Internal affairs?
Well, sometimes government departments, or especially government departments, they have what's called as watchdogs. These watchdogs are supposed to be the counterbalancing, and they're supposed to give an independent report. They have access to everything, and now ultimately it's all material, because what happens is, however good the system is, after some time things tend to things tend to become difficult. The United States is an example of trying to establish a checks and balance system, but because there's no Krishna consciousness, it's bound to fail. You have the executive branch, you have the judicial branch, and then you have the legislative branch. So the legislative branch is the Congress and the Senate, and then you have the executive branch, which is the president, and then you have the judicial branch, which is the judges. So the judges are chosen by the Senate and then confirmed by the president, but then the judges have the authority to reprimand the Senate or the president, and then anyways, the legislative branch, so many people are chosen by the people of the state, and there's different ways in which. So it's a very complicated system, but still, and at least there's a lot of people who believe that the United States is heading for a dictatorship right now. With all these checks and balances, it's bound to fail because it's a material thing, a material system. So everything will only work as long as it's connected to Krishna. That's ultimately the only way, and you follow Krishna's system. And as long as it's connected to Krishna, Krishna consciousness, things can run. After that, everything, however perfect it may be, will deteriorate and fail.
Would you accredit the current status of the Krishna conscious movement to the devotees not cooperating properly and like getting absorbed in trivial things?
I mean, so much quarrel is there. It's quite there, is it not? I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. I mean, it's like, look, all the living entities in the material world are here because we're envious of Krishna, and then we are in the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. So forget about the innate envious nature. We are also specially, susceptible to quarrel and hypocrisy.
Yeah. Also, Ravindra Swaruprabhu talks about how, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur establishing the Gaudiya Math, establishing the GBC, Governing Body Commission. This is like bringing Indian culture into the context of like the European kind of generated society. And Governing Body Commission is like a British term.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's a whole like it's like a reformatting almost. So there's like naturally like the Gaudiya Math, they, I mean, to some extent, kind of failed. And then ISKCON also, it's like it's a struggle. So it's like kind of
it's a tough thing.
Yeah.
But what we have to understand, sometimes devotees think that this whole idea of a governing council is something that was artificial. But the thing is, a council of brahmanas or brahminical, people is always there. In fact, and how is that the case? In the story, I'm reading in this Gomata book, the story of Vishwamitra versus Vasishta. Vishwamitra before was King not Khatwanga. I forgot Vishwamitra's old name when he was a Kshatriya. And he makes...
John Duggan or something?
No. Jamadagni is Parshurama's father.
Oh, sorry.
Where is this? 728. But so what happens is there's this cow Nandini that belongs to Vasishta, and King ex Vishwamitra ex Vishwamitra king Kaushika. King Kaushika wanted to steal Nandini because he thought, what are you doing with this cow? This cow's a wishful thing. Can't give, so I can feed my whole kingdom, take care of somebody. Why do you do it? I'll give you 1 million. I'll give you like 10,000 cows or 1 million cows in exchange for this one cow. And Vasishta was like, no. I have this Nandini helps me in worshipping the demigods and doing my yagyas and this and that. I am not going to part with Nandini. I have a personal relationship. She's like my daughter. I'm not going to give her. And then Kaushika tries to pull her away. And then anyways, Vasishta then orders Nandini to protect herself. And she generates all these different armies. And they all rout. So at that time, Kaushika makes a statement. He says, Kshatriya balam Kshatriya balam dig balam means that the power of Kshatriya is to win victory in all directions. Kshatriya balam dig balam. Brahma Tejo Balam Balam. But the power of a Brahmana is infinitely greater than that of a Kshatriya. The Kshatriya could conquer all directions, but a Brahmana's power is greater than that. So Brahma Tejo Balam Balam. So actually Brahmanas have to be extremely pure and powerful. And if they are, it's actually very difficult to for even powerful Kshatriyas to defeat them. And that's why Prabhupada is saying that the Gita Nagari's primary purpose is to generate Brahmanas. Because when you generate that class of Brahmanas, then the whole society falls in line. Because they have such spiritual power. These Brahmanas have such spiritual power that it's unimaginable. Chanakya Pandit is a good example. He had such capacity that he found this guy, Chandragupta, was some little boy he found. This is Kshatriya. I will train him, I'll make him into. He made him the emperor of the whole India. Such a powerful king. So, yeah. Okay, 7:31. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vachakalpatrubhyascha vipassabhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo.
Almost at the end of the essay.